like to call the meeting to order. And maybe we are being recorded, so we are on. Why don't we run around and do introductions briefly, as always? Maybe we'll start here with Linda.
Hi, everybody. I am Linda Hayes, Director of the Scituate Senior Center, Council on Aging. That's it.
J.D. Miller, Board Chair.
Dale Baylor, Board Member.
Hi, Lucille Sorrentino, Board Member.
Janice Desmond, new board member.
Welcome.
First meeting. Thank you.
Welcome.
Audrey Reedy, board member.
John Powers, liaison for South Shore LP Services. Helen Jablonski, new member.
Leslie James, board member.
Janice Lindblom, Secretary.
Yay!
We've got a couple of guests tonight, and neither have been able to make it as of yet, so we're gonna just readjust the agenda timing here and maybe move into some other things, because we've got someone coming from Social Elder Services, and we've got...
Yes, and I had simply put her later in the agenda, so
Yeah.
I told her she didn't have to be
Yeah.
here right away. Walter, I'm not sure if he's commuting.
Yes,
in
so...
Heather. We could
so-
look at the July minutes.
So I don't have any immediate additions. I will say, was everyone able to attend the
One.
town's board and committee meetings yesterday?
Well, there had been one a few weeks ago, I believe,
Okay,
a day and an evening as well, and I think everybody was
good,
Last name.
Good.
informed about that.
good. Well, given that we should try to keep everything as open and as posted on the agenda as possible, if anybody has any questions on that meeting relative to us, we could put that under new business for next month. And otherwise, why don't we move and adjust the agenda again and move right to Linda?
Or the July minutes.
Oh, I beg your pardon. Beg your pardon. Yes.
And I guess we could preface that with, they're a little brief,
They're very brief.
because,
I usually use the videotape as backup, and it was some kind of mishap.
you'll all be thrilled to hear that all that time we thought it was recording last meeting, which
Last
was in
meeting.
July,
Yeah.
it was not. So he's
Although-
not sure it's a snafu, he says occasionally happens.
So you got all those fabulous ideas and insights that we were talking about at that meeting,
Because
right?
I also use the agenda.
Okay.
So, Janice, we both looked it over and it was pretty, I added a couple of things.
Well, why doesn't everybody take a look at that?
But that is why you didn't get it early, just by the way.
Linda,
Yes.
she doesn't have any account information.
A copy?
You have the whole
The
thing?
minutes?
Okay, want to pass this down? They were all,
The agenda.
Oh,
So that's what I'm
okay.
sorry, they were on the table and then they just get shifted as people sat down. I just picked up the extras.
Is Jean Sullivan coming? I didn't hear that.
Jean is not
October.
coming,
No.
she will come in October.
Sorry.
It's okay. So Janice got the high points anyway, and as we learned, it's just important to note what did get discussed, and not every detail, of course, always is.
Which I also learned last night. that
Exactly.
You don't need a verbatim.
Right. We don't. You can try.
Yeah.
Does anyone have any questions on the minutes or comments?
How is the aging mastery?
Oh,
How
we'll-
many of?
We'll get to me.
Yeah.
Okay.
Actually, I didn't check that, though.
I will just simply pull back on some detail here
Mhm.
that you and I probably discussed, but I'm assuming the rest of the board probably doesn't know this answer. We always reference the Formula One grant.
Formula, just formula grant.
So correct me if I'm wrong, but the formula grant is funding that every town in the state receives from the state, as long as they put in a grant application for a certain dollar amount per head of each senior
Right.
in the population of that town.
Correct.
Okay? So that, if the town has 3,000 seniors, it's $30,000. Or 5,000 seniors, it's $5,000. So when Linda mentions the formula grant, it's coming from the state, and that's sort of how it's based, is on a head count by population and census.
Yes.
But, so if you don't file for the grant application, you don't receive any money, but if you do.
Nobody does that.
Right, yeah, I mean, why wouldn't you, right? So that's where some additional funds for this, for the council budget comes from, so.
Didn't you tell us that it just recently went up, or did I read that in the?
It's in my
budget?
report, but
Yeah,
yes, it went
yeah.
up $1, which they've been,
Yeah,
they're.
and a dollar a person is a sizable amount.
Mhm. Yes.
So, does anyone have any questions or comments on minutes? Do I hear a motion to approve minutes?
I make a motion.
I second.
Accept.
Okay.
Okay.
So.
We have a guest, Walter.
Perfect timing.
Fuller. We have just walked in the door, we just got started.
Okay.
Walter, maybe we'll go back around again. I'm J.D. Miller.
Dale Baylog, board member.
Lucille Sorrentino, board member.
Okay.
Janice Desmond, board member. Audrey Reed, board member.
Joan Powers, South Shore LD liaison.
Okay.
Lou Jablonski.
Leslie James, board member.
Janice Lindblom, board member.
Guests over there?
We're the peanut gallery.
Okay.
Gallery, yeah.
So my name is Walter Fuller. I work for Harvard Pilgrim Healthcare. And Harvard Pilgrim has a program that was instituted after September 11th, 2001, to honor people who were members of Harvard Pilgrim Insurance Company who lost their lives on September 11th. So once a year, they allow us to apply for a September 11th mini grant, and it can go to any organization that we wish. So I've been with Harvard Pilgrim 11 years now, so over the years I've used it for the Scituate Special Olympics, the handicap program at the high school for kids with disabilities, and I wanted to try a different venue, and I literally drove by this building one day and said, okay, that's where I'm going,
Wow.
to the Scituate Council for Aging. So you have received the funds. It's not a lot of money, it's $550, but it is what it is, and it's for a great cause.
Well,
So
it was, thank you for saying so, and it was perfect timing, and actually we had a perfect application for it, because they wanted it to be nutrition related.
they gave you some extra money if it was related to nutritional subjects, right?
So for our Aging Mastery Program, which we did last year, but that was completely grant funded through the state for us to do that the first time, but then they wanted us to find sponsorship elsewhere, and in walked Walter.
Yeah.
And we do a healthy breakfast each week, each Thursday morning prior to the meeting, so that people can socialize and also have a healthy breakfast too. So
Yeah.
it supports the program itself, Aging Mastery. It's meant to cultivate and reinforce healthy habits, nutrition being one of them. So it's perfect, and it will
Well,
cover us
Yeah, Harvard
exactly what we
Pilgrim is very
need to
happy
do.
to use their charitable foundation. The Harvard Pilgrim Healthcare Foundation is the arm of Harvard Pilgrim Healthcare Insurance Company that is the charitable arm of the company. So they're really, really excited to be able to donate. And we have about 1,200 employees, and there's a 95% participation rate.
Wow.
Why there's not 100%, I'm not sure,
Right.
but there's 95% participation rate. So, I'm not that far away from retirement myself, so I hope to be involved
Yeah.
in this center. But for the remainder of the time I have at Harvard Pilgrim, I hope to be able to do something again next year for this
Very nice.
this organization.
Lots of
Certainly is,
opportunities here. I'm glad you recognized
we
this anyway in
appreciate
the
that.
neighborhood.
Yeah, I know I did, and I know you're looking for a new spot and all that. I read about it all the time.
Good.
And
Are
hopefully
you a
that.
Situate resident?
I'm sorry.
Are you a Situate resident?
I am.
Aha, so that's why you drove by
We've been
and
here.
noticed.
I live here with my wife and my two daughters who've been here for 31 years.
Wow.
I'm originally from the North Shore, and my wife was from Quincy, so I moved to the South Shore, and most of my family's still up on the North Shore.
Oh,
So
yeah.
honestly, people from the North Shore don't move to the South Shore that often, so
No?
it was kind of a
Sure.
culture shock for my family to them, Situate still is the tip of the Cape. That's how they view Situate. When they come down here, they really
It's a
believe
pretty
they're-
simple
they're
map,
on the
right? I
Cape,
know
yeah,
it's down
so-
there. Well, I had included in
So-
everyone's packet the, the letter and announcement from Harvard Pilgrim and Walter, so you
And
can
I also have
read
the,
about that.
a couple, I took several copies for you, the Community Spirit Award
It's really nice.
signed by the president of our foundation and the chairman of Harvard Pilgrim Healthcare, Eric Schultz.
Very
So those
nice.
are for you folks.
So wonderful. Thank you so much. Really appreciate it.
I'm very happy to do it, yeah.
We appreciate the help.
And I know it'll go to a good cause, and again, hopefully next year, we can do this once a year.
Okay,
Once a year, and hopefully next year, I can come back here and see what other needs you have.
great. Yeah.
Yeah.
Come in anytime and join us if
Yeah.
you'd like on a Thursday morning from September 22nd through December 1st and have
Okay.
breakfast.
Okay.
That would be fun.
Great.
Okay.
Yeah, very nice to meet you all. Yeah,
Appreciate
yeah,
it.
thank you.
Thanks so
Yeah,
much.
Yeah,
I hope
thank
we
you.
talk to you
Bye-bye.
Appreciate your help.
Yes, sure. Thank you.
All right. Look forward to seeing you again.
I'll be back.
Okay.
We'll be waiting for your retirement.
I'm waiting, I'm counting. It's a little bit off, but I can't wait.
Counting the days. Very nice.
That was nice. It
Very
was
nice.
timely. and- Pardon me?
How are we gonna spend it?
Well, I was just saying, it's for breakfast for 10 weeks on Thursday morning for the Aging Mastery Program. So it almost exactly came out, I think we spent about $600 last year on the breakfast. So this is $550. We'll cut back a little on the oatmeal, I don't know.
It was
But
very
perfect.
good, too. Very
Yeah.
nutritious.
Yes, it was. We learned a lot,
Oh, I
didn't we?
I did.
My
That's
oatmeal
very
was a-
nice. That was unexpected and.
Yeah, exactly. I would have had to go
Right.
out and seek those funds
Right,
from
we never
someone,
saw
so
it.
he
We never-
just,
right.
just,
So
He
nice.
walked in and
Somebody
offered.
gives you a lot.
Yeah, great. Very nice. Very good. Okay, so now maybe we'll move to our director report for July
Okay.
and August.
would be nice if I had my, did I take? I do this every time. Where is my
Okay.
report? I know, but I highlighted,
I've got
here it
one
is.
for you.
I got it. Wrong order, sorry. Okay. Gosh. I have plenty of help getting me ready for this meeting. Well, Jill's been on vacation this week. It's been a busy week. Was it this week or last week? It was like the first day of school. Everybody's calling, everybody's coming in. It's great. It's actually really nice. It's been just very, very vibrant and dynamic, which is what we want. But we're a little short-staffed, so it was a little hard.
And Jill works full-time now.
No, that was
No?
temporary,
Oh,
and
oh,
she is no
temporary.
longer full-time as of last Tuesday, so
Oh.
that probably contributed to our feeling a little more short-staffed. But fewer volunteers at the front desk. It's been a little bit hard, I will say, for the last couple of weeks. So, what to bring? So just to start in the report with some collaborations, of course. So Heritage Days, hopefully many of you saw or even participated and helped us out, but we did create a 5x7 postcard that was given out at the shared COA FOSS table at Jack Conway, thanks to Helen and Elaine there. So they seem to think people took them readily and were happy to read it. It was just a little bit about the senior center, what we do. I included activities and a little blurb about the upcoming Singing Trooper event as well. But something that could be used at least for the couple of months until after September 30th, and then maybe we'll do another one.
We didn't give them much of a chance to say no.
Not that year. Mass Housing Grant was actually just given to the Scituate Hoarding Response Team, which is great. We've had one for the last 2 years as a team, which many of you do know and some of you do not. It's a multidisciplinary or departmental team of fire staff, health department, Laura Manier. Laura and Jennifer really coordinated. I'm on it, Jenny as well, our outreach coordinator, building inspector, Social Elder Services has a representative on there. So it just meant to collaborate whenever there are cases, and also we've been trying to educate the community as well as those in need of support. and help through the process if they're identified as having those particular situations. So, to that end, the money will be used to support another round of a support group for 8 weeks. So that's held here on Tuesday nights, beginning in October through February. So happy to have it again. There's a Scituate resident that is a social worker that facilitates the group. They may be forming 2 groups. There was so much of a response to it that they had upwards to 20 or more attend the 4 weeks we did in June. So now I think they may be alternating the weeks and having only 12 at each of the meetings. So I think that's how they did that. So anyway, that's good news. I met with the Jenkins School principal as well as Maura Glancy, the recreation director, and just coordinating use of Jenkins. And now that the recreation department has been relocated there, they do get priority, which of course infringes a little bit on us, but also they've been super cooperative, and in fact, somehow we got an extra day. So we now get to have pickleball Mondays at 4 and Wednesdays at 4. Badminton, which is our program, comes in at 6 on Wednesdays, so that needs to be accommodated. And recreation and the school has something coming in on Mondays, which varies a little bit, but I think really we have a decent, almost 2 hours for the program for each of those 2 nights, which is great. So that's wonderful, and Recreation is interested in that program, and they're happy to support us, and they're happy to cooperate. So that was a good meeting. Also, things are changing for the schools a little bit, so we could get in there earlier than initially. When we first started, we couldn't get until 5, which was a little bit hard, but the after-school programs have been consolidated and moved to another school, actually, so we didn't have that problem as well. Scituate Education Foundation is another new group, which we've heard from, of course, at our last meeting. Katina Bentley came in, so they wanted to include us in some things. Talked about a project that they're tabling for the time being, that they did look for some input from us. That was one of the meetings I had. But they also included us in their passport days for preschoolers, which was adorable. So last week we had 2 deliveries of homemade cookies from, this is our other guest from Social Elder Services, Bobby K. That's okay, yeah. Hi, Bobby K, come on in, have a seat.
Hello. Hi.
We'll introduce you in just a
That's
minute.
okay.
You get to hear my report.
Oh, good, I want to hear your report.
So anyway, we had cookies come in with some preschoolers who were adorable during knitting, and again before our movie on Friday. So it was nice. The moms obviously brought them. Nobody. But it was a nice way for us to be part of the community, and for the kids, they were just trying to connect them in some way to what goes on in the community. So it was great. And there'll be more of that, I believe. Others have sort of called and talked to me about different things that they have ideas about. So the Scituate Education Foundation wants to not be considered strictly school-based, as most of the other towns are, including Duxbury, where I live, and I've been on that board. So, you know, that's nice. It's a new take on it, and hopefully they will be able to help us with a couple of things that would be appropriate. So our newsletter, wow, we got called, let's see, everyone got theirs, well, at least the majority, on September 2nd. That was good, right before the long weekend, I believe. So this time, we did it again through J&R Graphics, but we still had the insert, so I still enlisted the help of our volunteers here to put not only our calendar insert in, but the town wanted an insert added about the water situation and
sure.
and the requests that were being made, and also the steps that were being taken, and just an informative. So we did a 2-sided insert and put that in our newsletter. So that was helpful. At least we already had the need we were inserting anyway. Moving forward, we won't have our calendar insert. They're expanding it for us enough to have the calendar stapled in the newsletter and then mailed as a flat with no tabs. So the cost will go down. This time we paid around between $450 and $500 just for their service, and then another $500 for the post office, but it will go down. So that's not really a hard number yet. It certainly is still costing us money, but I think it's good. I think it's better. People like the flat. It's a better way to receive the newsletter. Those tabs are a pain. Jean Sullivan is our new transportation coordinator, replacing Q, working full-time. It's been a month. She's still here, so that's good news. So some changes, want to let her really get to feel what the job is all about for her and not necessarily have to jump in and do things just the way Q did. So, just some transition time for that. But she's great, happy to have her, and she will come to next month's meeting.
Good.
So you can meet her.
Yeah,
And
I've not met her, yeah.
thought I'd let her get a little bit more under her belt before she came. I don't know if you noticed, and it gives me a chance to mention that as board members, when you come for the meeting, we have a check-in system, which if you come for anything to the senior center, we need people to use their scan card, which you may not have, and I can make for all of you. But when you scan, it knows who you are because you're in the system, and then you can touch an activity or an event to say that that's what you're attending, and that's how I get all the numbers that I try to produce for statistics and for the annual report, which I've been doing this week. So you're also volunteers, of course, so there's a way to say, instead of I'm just at this activity, I'm a volunteer for this activity. So you go in through volunteer and then say I'm here for an hour and a half or 2 hours. So that's something that you could all do when we have the meetings here. It's easy enough. Otherwise, I should just put you in myself, having had the meeting, and know what the attendance is for that. As we also learned at our training, I didn't realize the town needed that attendance as well. I mean, we have the minutes, we know who's here and who's not, but the town wants to know who has attended the board meeting, so that would be helpful for that too. In addition, just FYI, so My Senior Center is the name for new people of our database here. It's awesome, it's great. It does almost everything we need, and when it doesn't, we really could call and just say, could you make this happen, or could you make this better? And sometimes they can't. They're programmers, they just do their thing. But they had offered this special opportunity, I guess, to have some advertising placed on the terminal as you walk in. And it's there, rotating all the way. So far, there's not too much. It's most South Shore Hospital, a couple of other things, so take a look. They would add it remotely, so they may have added things I haven't even seen yet. And when you scan, it goes away. And then you see what you need to see. But they enhanced it. It's actually really prettier than it had been. And the other benefit is that I got half off our annual maintenance, which went from like $1,200 to $700, which was
Great.
It was nice, so I thought that was worthwhile. And secondly, those broadcast calls you get from the Cambridge number? Well, supposedly they're making it a local number, and that's part of the premier service we're now getting.
Good.
So I think that was worth it. So we'll see, just happened to notice, and as we get more advertisers there, then that's nice for them and nice for you as well. That's been one of the problems with our newsletter, is that
Advertising.
we need more advertising for them to either do it more frequently or expand it to more pages, but they're compromising with us a little bit right now, so we're getting a couple more pages, but they'd like more advertising. Do you know anybody? Anyway, okay. The formula grant, as JD was mentioning, I did submit for the 2016-17 fiscal year. It is $4,300 roughly this year based on the 2010 census. So the reason every year they try to get an extra dollar per elder, and that's advocated through MCOA, Mass Council on Aging, to the Executive Office of Elder Affairs. That's who gives us the money. That's the state agency. So they lobby each year for another dollar because each year there's more seniors and we're still operating on the number from the 2010 census. So naturally we could use the additional money. So for us it was $4,300 that we're getting. That pays for one staff position here, the activities volunteer coordinator Lisa's position completely.
Wait, can I stop you there?
Mhm.
If we have 4,300 seniors times $10, it's 43,000.
Right, did I say, yeah,
Thank you. That was good.
right, sorry.
So we got a raise.
Yeah, we look how easy that was.
$43,000, that's a lot of money, that's great.
No.
Yeah, I was going to say that. I looked
But
at
I
it and said,
do
wait,
only have that. I can
$4,300
tell you
doesn't
that,
go
no.
very far
I
in
was
terms
think- I was
of
just-
staff
I was thinking
positions,
it,
et
you
cetera, et
said it.
cetera.
Yeah, 43,000, sorry,
Yeah.
43,340,
Yeah,
but
you know.
what happens is if we don't spend it all, and somehow I did end up with $200 left in last one, so that does come off of it. The next time, you just don't get the whole thing, which is too bad. We should spend it all, and he encourages us, and he gives us a, go, spend. but sometimes it's hard. So it's my third round, and I'm getting better at it. I'm not used to spending money. It's
For the sake of spending.
kind of fun,
Yeah.
pardon
For
me,
the sake of
with that.
spending.
for the sake of
Yeah,
spending,
it's all-
but
yeah.
I will mention, for instance, and this is nice, and this is legitimate stuff, but these chairs, and I'm going to get 10 more because they're awesome, and they match the rug and the tables. So equipment, we're getting a dishwasher, secondhand, but it was, it's just what we need, and it's portable, so when we move it, it can come with us.
And that means we can use the kitchen.
And that's, and that's through the formula grant. So we have guidelines that we can spend on and we can't spend on. So we just need to stick, and sometimes we can just call Emmett and ask, can I do this? Usually he says yes, because he wants to. Anyway, so it's awesome. So besides the staff position, just to mention, a couple of exercise programs are supported. We only had one supported, and I've added another one to get supported by that. The newsletter mailing and postage to a point are supported. Miscellaneous printing, the volunteer luncheon is supported by the formula grant. So those are just some. And some conferences the conference I would go to or training is available for us. So speaking of that, I just went to the Serve Safe Food Service training. That's like the SATs, by the way, and I think I passed by a point. So as long as I'm in the building, our kitchen is certified, except for when the dishwasher's here. But actually, we have a volunteer who's also going to the training, and he already knows half of it. I'm sure he's been in the food service business, and he's really the guy we want here. So Dennis Cody, and so he'll be here sort of managing some of what goes on in the kitchen when we have events, so that's nice. GATRA, there's just been some activity with GATRA on ADA requirements, Americans with Disabilities requirements. So potentially, we need to be available when a disabled person is not able to access the sloop, which is the public transportation service driving around and operating from 7 in the morning, roughly,
Till 8, yeah.
until 7 or 8 at night. So that's something that may add some cost to what we're doing. We may need to contract some additional help for that, drivers for that. So that has delayed the expansion of the route indefinitely, possibly until we can ascertain exactly how much this is going to cost, because it's over the budget we currently have. So that's just been a little bit of a problem. And everybody's asking, and the Board of Selectmen has been asking, when are we going to North-Scituate? And right now, that's
Have
just,
you heard any complaints from Licton Park? 'Cause
yeah,
they've
oh,
been-
all the time.
They've
I
been
mean-
left out for years now.
Mm.
It's going on more than a year.
More than a year, right. But, and we did plan, or they did plan to expand it, and then this sort of came up, so there's been, GATRA is a regional transportation authority, but they're under the authority of the FTA and the Department of Transportation and, federal and state, so they have to comply and then require us to comply, and it's very, paperwork intensive, needless to say, so that's the delay right now, unfortunately. But
Do you
there's
have
still,
any expected time length on this delay?
I don't, because really it would have happened already that the route would have been expanded. And
I understand that, but
Yes.
I'm just asking if.
I don't.
Will it be months or,
I don't know.
you don't know? That's all I wanted to know.
They wanted to sort of maybe shave a little of the schedule for the winter months anyway, because it's just maybe they wouldn't do Sundays in the winter, something might, or maybe the times would be a little tighter come winter, but that remains to be seen too. And Frank A., who's the executive director, is in contact with me all the time, and Tricia as well, and so he's providing information that they need. The ridership is great. Actually, it's gone up every month.
Good.
So
That's great
I
to
don't
hear.
have those numbers, but he has provided them, and they are good.
That's great to hear.
I did bring Jean, actually, when she was new, a week into the job, to Duxbury, because the GATRA reps were coming there to have a meeting, and I thought it would be useful if we all heard it at the same time about ADA stuff, so that was great. And also to talk to them a little bit about how they do things for her. I was considering replacing the 14-person van that is new, and we really wanted, but because of a lot of this FTA, DOT paperwork, there's just so much involved in the drivers. They don't need a CDL license, but they do need to be, they have to have a physical. just more extensive requirements than we could meet easily. So we're driving at less than we thought we would because we can't let everybody drive it.
So it's the limitation is staffing.
So I could have maybe turned it in for another 12-person, but then I hesitated, and we hadn't even had it for a year yet, so I'm giving it a little while more and seeing what we can do to work with in their, their guidelines and requirements before I give it up. Because it is helpful, and even Duxbury said, gee, we'd like that number sometimes, could we borrow it? So if GATRA allows us to do that, it's possible we can have some, some other relationships with the van. So anyway, I'm going to keep it for a while. Other meetings are in there that you can just see that I attended. The Friendly Visitor Program is on track still. The staff involved with that is Laura and Jenny and Lisa. And we have 2 volunteer coordinators, Imelda Nelson and Janice Limbaugh here from the board. So they're meeting tomorrow to review a training handbook that they want to tailor and use for training for the 6 or 7 volunteers that we currently have a list of. And that should kick off by October, I believe, so.
The program will kick off in
The training
October?
for the volunteers, and then immediately thereafter, the program, yes.
Great.
That's great. That's
Okay.
nice.
Tax work-off program, I have placed 2 more people during this period since our last meeting, one with the town clerk and one with the coastal resource officer and the Board of Selectmen. She's sort of doing both to try to get the hours in for the current tax year that she would like.
That's also good.
Mhm. But the next round, really, for the tax work-off program would be more the December, January timeframe for the next year and the next year's tax bills. So that's what I should gear up for and find some new positions for people to work in. The COA, just like we're meeting here, where the town has us listed now as a possible meeting place for town-affiliated meetings that need to happen at night. So, except for Thursdays, because we have the art class and then our meeting, and Tuesdays we now will have the support group. But Monday, we already had a couple of people meeting on Monday. Foss has used it a couple of times. We have the Scituate Health Services uses it, and a few others I've allowed to come in. So anyway, that is something.
How does that work, Linda? Do you give them the key, who's ever responsible?
Who's ever responsible for that night, and then they would bring it back. Yes.
And they sign up at Town Hall, right, or online? If
They've
they-
been just calling me, actually, right? But that could become more formal, just because our meetings should all be online for
Right.
people to know about.
To
So
see
if that
what-
was the
yeah,
case, it would
right,
be there
right.
too. Oh, as we learn,
Transparency.
Right,
as we learn.
right.
So I'm sorry, I'll try to hurry it up a little bit.
Okay.
Events that were
It's fine.
successful, okay. We had Bob Jackman's second fundraising presentation for us over at the Maritime Center back on August 8th. Fewer people came than the first one, that was 12 attended, but it was still wonderful of him to do it. It was a fabulous presentation on shorebird painters and artwork, and really lots of information. I think out of that, we learned about a museum we'd like to bring people to in Canton, which is fabulous, and I think really something we would do again or do more of, so it was very nice. The documentary film we showed at the end of August here as one of our monthly films was sponsored and provided by the Rotary Club. 2 professors from Boston College who had put together this documentary on an African-American football player who was prevented from playing in the games because of his race, obviously, and the controversy with some of the other teams that they would play. And now they're sort of, not to say calling BC to the carpet, but really trying to bring his story to the forefront and have him recognized as he should have been for his talents and his participation, because he gave up a lot to do it. So it was a super interesting documentary and well-attended here by about 25 or more people, really.
We had a good turnout here.
Made some donations to him to circulate the film and get some added advocacy, so it was really great. And we have the DVD now, they did give us one, and we could do it again, which we might, and we could even maybe enlist the Mill Wharf. Last night's showing was so great for the Rotary film with Razio Jean and the Afghanistan School for Girls. It was wonderful, so we could do that again.
Sure.
Aging Mastery Program, which Audrey started to ask, it begins September 22nd, which is actually a week from today. I would say we do not have a full quorum, and I meant to check the number of signups we have, but the advertising's been good, and we have had many calls and even some from out of town, which we are fine with, having people come from out of
So
town.
it's every Thursday morning
For 10 weeks, except for Thanksgiving,
for an hour and a half?
for an hour and a half. -ish. breakfast first, 9:30 to 10 is social, 10 to 11 is the presentation and/or program.
And out-of-town participants
Are
are
welcome.
accepted?
I think so, just because we want to be regional, and we're doing it, and maybe Norwell's not, or somebody isn't, so we're happy to have them come. COA board training is September 30th. It's full. So I had, I think, maybe 6 names of people that I knew wanted to come. If anybody else does, and I don't have your names, tell me, and I'll figure out how to do it, because somebody's coming with more people than they should. And maybe we can squeeze more in anyway. I do have the list here somewhere, so you can talk to me about it. But that's with Emmett Schmarzo from the Executive Office of Elder Affairs. He's wonderful himself, but in addition, he likes to get everybody's input about different things that they're doing. And he thinks the sharing is really where the benefit comes. So that's what the board training is all about. So it's different than the board training we just had with the town. This is more about your role as council on aging advocates and what he sees through his agency is the role that he hopes we are cultivating here. Okay? Singing Trooper, Friday, September 30th at night. We have tickets. We've sold a fair number of tickets, really, probably 60, which I think is good. And I will just say that the majority
How
of...
much are tickets?
Pardon me?
How much are tickets?
$20, which is a good deal, actually. Not sure we're going to make money. We might make money, but he's expensive, and that's all right. You know, there's dinner as in the cash bar we're securing.
But it says it includes dinner.
It does, that's what I mean, dinner.
So,
It is dinner.
I mean, how can you go wrong?
How can you go wrong? Agreed.
$20
But I will say, just
in a program.
because it's interesting, I think the majority of the people who have come in and called and reserved or bought tickets are names that I don't necessarily know, but are familiar with the entertainment and really want to come and see him. So that's good. That's a good thing. And so I think the people who we know and are more familiar with and who might normally come to things may have not bought their tickets yet. So, and I'm sure they will. So I'm confident we...
And I have had the question from people about how far in advance are there going to be tickets?
Right?
Right
Well,
now, an opening.
there are till they're
later.
gone, and we have,
Okay.
we've only probably sold a half, so we still have.
Oh, okay. All
We
right.
still have 60
That puts
available.
it in perspective.
Our target number was 120. We could take more, but we need to know before the caterer, obviously.
Mm.
How many does St. Mary's accommodate?
You know, I'm sorry, I don't know. It could be 150.
300?
Two. They might be 220, but I think it's like,
No, it just,
20 tables of 10.
And Floss is assisting you with this, am I correct?
Yes,
Mm.
yes, they are.
So this is a joint fundraiser?
Yes, it
Because
is.
Floss has the 5031C, so
Yes,
it'll be a joint effort,
which is what everything should be, yes.
absolutely.
I will mention also October 19th, which is mentioned in the newsletter, but maybe not to the extent it should have been, because more information came in after. I had already sent it to print. But we have Jim Cantwell coming along with Patrick O'Connor, who's the state senator, newer, having replaced Bob Headland. So then they enlisted, or invited, I guess I should say, the secretary of the Executive Office of Elder Affairs. That's kind of huge, Secretary Bonner. She's only been with the office for a couple of years. We did have the previous secretary come to our health fair in 2014, which was at that time, the community center. So Jim must be in with the secretaries. But anyway, it's really big. He did unfortunately mention something about giving her a tour of the senior center. So that kind of threw me off a little bit and makes me nervous.
No, it's okay.
But it's fine, because it'd be
No.
quick. But originally scheduled for 10:30, as are most of our cafe talks, but they need to come a little later, so it's now going to be 11. Be prepared to hear a broadcast call, if not two, about it, because we really do want people to come. In addition, someone from the Attorney General's office is coming, so it's kind of huge. So it's October 19th, closer to 11 o'clock here at the Senior Center, for legislative, government issues, and anything that we might want them to talk about. And actually, anyone with a suggestion is welcome to make it, because they did ask, what would I like her to talk about? Naturally, funding comes up, in addition to maybe healthcare questions and issues. And Shine, for instance, which many of you over the age of 65, or at the age of 65, have had to come here and be helped by Norman Tetro, who is our Shine volunteer counselor, who gets trained through the state program. SHINE stands for Serving Health Information Needs of Everyone. So they were talking about having to cut that program, and that would be a big deal
Yeah, it would be.
to prevent if we could.
Yeah.
So those are the few things that I can name, of course, but if anyone has other thoughts or needs or suggestions, feel free, and I will pass them on.
I like your agenda.
Do you? Oh, the
I
time.
mean, I think we can.
Are we sticking to
limit
it?
some people, like you've already said, 3 to 5
Hopefully.
minutes. I don't
Well, I may
think
be
that's-
over now. So I would just hope and that you would read the newsletter, read my newsletter, our newsletter, for anything else I'm not mentioning, for upcoming activities, events, changes. It does look the exact same, unfortunately, color-wise, as July and August, which is unfortunate. We do try to get them to change the print, but it depends on what day it goes to print. They do a certain color every day, and it just so happened, I guess, we got the same day. Anyway, that is my report. I would mention, I did put flyers for the Singing Trooper event, so if anybody wants to even take one of the flyers to post somewhere that they think would be useful that we may not have posted before, feel free, or I could print more, or just to note for yourselves the information, that's great.
Considering your event for Brown Brothers,
Yeah.
what is that?
Well, it is something I'm considering. I've not made any moves on doing it. Again, it would be something we'd hope to partner, of course, with Foss on, and I checked with St. Mary's on a date, but otherwise, we haven't talked anything about it. The Brown Brothers, I just think they're fabulous. They've offered to do any sort of
I didn't know what they were.
fundraiser for us. They're a duo. They play at PJ's every Thursday night. The music is wonderful. I think it would be, really well received. It could be a little dancing, just a little social thing. We've been told, people want more things at night or maybe more social opportunities, so it would be the right kind of thing. And we were thinking of the weekend following Thanksgiving just because people are around that weekend. But not something I've moved on otherwise. But if anybody is interested, and of course, we need volunteers to pull these things off. We can't do it. The staff can't do it by themselves. That's why we haven't been doing it. Okay, there's my list. And then just briefly, very briefly, activities obviously are a little slower in the summer. We did do a few trips that were really successful. So went to Sandwich Heritage Museums and the ICA in Boston. People loved that. And then in August, we did Isabella Stewart Gardner Museum and the Harvard Natural History Museum. The one point I will make about that is there was so much time spent organizing and coordinating and changing and cancellations and going to the wait list and nobody available from the wait list. And it took so much time that we were reminded about why we don't do this a lot, because we don't have the staff to do that, even though everybody loves them. So it is
those are nice
unfortunate.
trips.
They are nice trips, and everyone who ends up going is always so happy to have that convenience of the van and the opportunity. But it is something either we have to pull back on or get a volunteer to help with, or just have policies that somehow make that easier than us always trying to make phone calls. Because the transportation, because Jean is new, and Q would normally submit a pretty simple report with just her numbers for rides and whatnot. This time, she's had to spend so much time just inputting the information, of course, for her transportation rides, and we try to collect every ride. So rides include local in and around Scituate. People are picked up and brought a variety of places, including here, more and more often, maybe for an activity, which is great. So you can see the list of our categories, so to speak, in the transportation. I have two sides. One is July and one is August. So the numbers are a little bit different.
But pretty consistent for those 2 months.
Yep, and there is a category for medical in town, which uses our local vans, versus medical out of town, which uses the contracted third-party social community action council vans. So that's why when you see it in our newsletter or elsewhere, we need 5 days, business days notice for those rides, because we have to schedule those with someone else. But they'll go anyway. They'll go to Boston. There's a schedule for them that we follow, but otherwise it's great. So I just thought maybe you'd actually like to see, this comes out of my senior center. This data gets put in for every ride, both to and from, so the pickup and the return trip. So it is, it's work, but it's a great system to have, to be able to produce these numbers. So I don't know if anyone has questions on transportation, but that's that one. And then outreach is also a little concise. Really, she just produced her numbers. This is a little bit harder to collect for her. It's not quite as automatic as what we do for rides. So you can see Jenny, being the outreach coordinator, is responsible for sometimes home visits, where she checks in with someone who can't get here, that needs services and might need help with an application or some other assistance. She supports Norm, of course, for Shine and any other insurance questions that she can take care of. So she assisted 28 persons in July and 40 in August. So you'll see when it's duplicated, of course, that's the number of times she might have met with one person, but could be multiple times. And then the number of assists, it's just really that they work on units. And she might help someone with a SNAP application, but also maybe a housing question, and those are 2 different units, so that's twice for one person. So anyway, it is a little bit complicated, and they are thinking about changing the units to be increments of time as opposed to categories, so that may change for us.
Very good.
That would conclude our report.
Thank you, Linda.
Thank you for listening. For this month.
Does anyone have any questions on any of that? Covered a couple of months there.
I did, well, yes, that's probably a lot of
Yeah.
it. That was 2 months because we didn't meet in August, as you know.
Joan Powers,
Okay.
our liaison to South Shore Elder Services.
There was no meeting in July. And in August 2nd, Sandra reported that the Welch Health and Retirement Group Company sold assets to a new company and their home care division was closed. They ended their contract with South Shore Elder Services. This displaced about 200 clients, but the agency was able to place them with services. And then September 13th, which was just last Tuesday, the audit showed that the South Shore is in good shape. They do need more volunteers, especially in Meals on Wheels. And actually, Scituate does pretty good for drivers compared to some of the Quincy and Weymouth. They really have a big problem.
Oh.
But we do need more volunteers, especially with the winter coming up, because we have people that go to Florida. And we also need really a list of people who could fill in when someone is sick or can't drive. They have to
I
depend
should
on-
mention that they should call the senior center if they ever are stuck for, it's the Meals on Wheels deliveries. And, you know, a staff person could jump in the car and do that too.
Yeah, okay, because they have to go through a whole system, you know,
Okay.
through South Shore Elder Services in order to drive, you know. They could probably use people, you know, in the kitchen without going through that, but if they're gonna deliver meals, they have to go through the whole process.
Okay.
But actually Scituate is pretty good compared to others, but of course, others will have a lot more. We
Right.
have about 50 people we deliver meals to. We now
50.
have like 14 that we have at the meals on Monday, Wednesdays, and Fridays, which is up a little bit.
Who delivers them?
We have drivers. Most of the
Volunteer.
drivers,
I wondered how many drivers.
well, most of the drivers do it 1 day a week,
Mm.
which is like an hour, usually around an hour it takes, an hour and a half if you're waiting and stuff. There's several less that do it 2-3 times a week because there is a shortage. So that's what usually happens if there's they call 2 or 3 of us and say, you know, we need a driver. So that's, you know, it's mostly seniors that do it because people working and all can't do it. And that's why a lot in the wintertime they go to Florida. So we always lose like at least 3 drivers.
I can try to remember for our next newsletter, which is November,
Okay.
to put it in the newsletter.
To request volunteers.
For volunteers.
Yeah.
Good idea.
Yeah.
That would be great.
Yeah.
The caterers, Lindsay, we're very happy with. And they
Oh, yeah.
voted to increase
They're
their
good.
payment by 2.7%, which is actually below usually the increase of 3%. They also, with the meals that we have at the center, they have an alternative meal too, which is more expensive. So that we find some of the seniors do not like fish. but they have an alternative one, which is, could be a sandwich, or if they list, they know ahead of time what they're gonna be, or a salad, so that's been very helpful.
What happened, you mail them a menu?
We
Or
give them
when
a
you
menu.
deliver it, you
We
give-
deliver meals, we have a menu every week.
Okay, and you give it to them when you deliver the meal?
Right.
I just wonder how they make the decision.
Well, the decision for the alternative is just done at the site.
Okay.
So we do put in, every week we put in what they want.
Okay.
There were several correspondence, and I'm just going to briefly hit them. If you're interested in reading more about them, I have copies. I have some here. There were several flyers from the State House News Service. So on September 6th, after recent cuts to the state budget, some residents older than 60 who, after applying for home care, will be forced to wait for an indefinite amount of time. This doesn't affect Meals on Wheels. South Shore Elderly Services has 3 on the waiting list. Others have a lot more. They urge seniors looking for care to apply regardless whether they think they will be on a waiting list. They still want them to apply. There's also several of the news things that had information from Al Norman, Executive Director of the Mass Home Care, an organization that advocates for elders at the state level. There's a letter from the Executive Office of Elder Affairs has completed its review of South Shore Elderly Services. The group has determined that they meet all the requirements established. Right. So that's good. There was a vision team report, which had a whole list of improving services on improvements, assurance, monitoring, and given reports. And of course, a lot of the stuff now reports, this has to be on the computer, done through the computer. The board training was on the money management program by Jody Huckman. And I'll just highlight, just so you know what the money management program is. The South Shore Elderly Services Money Management Program came into existence in the fall of 1997. The program is co-sponsored by AARP Massachusetts, the MA Home Care Corporation, the Massachusetts Executive Office of Health Affairs, and the South Shore Elderly Services. The program is part of the Massachusetts Money Management Program. The Massachusetts Money Management Program is one of the largest and most well-established in the country. The purpose is created to assist low to moderate income elders with bill paying and other money management tasks. By enabling clients to meet their financial obligations, the program helps elders to continue living at home independently with dignity. Now expanded to include younger disabled and over asset individuals. And then it just goes into the details, but that's basically what it is. And then One Care information sessions are being held by Massachusetts Health, and I have a list of dates if anybody's interested. And last of all, with the St. Luke's is going to have a community dinner, and it's going to be meatloaf, roast potatoes, and mixed vegetables, salad and rolls, and apple crisp ice cream. And it's September 25th at 5 o'clock, which 90% are seniors, so that's why I'd like to let them know.
Absolutely.
How many do you have?
Absolutely.
Well, we usually get 60 to 90.
Yeah.
We had like 80 because one of the ladies was celebrating her 90th birthday, and it got up that we were having
Birthday
Kentucky
party.
Fried Chicken.
Yeah.
We saw people we haven't seen before.
Oh, isn't that funny?
I
But
think
it's
it's
a great
amazing
time.
that.
How'd you get the
they
word out
tried
about the
to-
Kentucky Fried Chicken?
I-
Word of mouth for
60 to
Kentucky
90.
Fried Chicken?
Well, word of mouth, and we put up we put up posters.
You put up flyers,
Oh,
okay.
yeah.
It's amazing.
Yep.
You don't
Joan, you
wanna-
and I were talking today briefly, and I'm just putting a plug in for your group, but apparently the St. Luke's Community Supper could always use a couple of pairs of extra hands. It's a once-a-month affair, and it's a core group of volunteers that prepare the food, et cetera, and even if you, I've done it on occasion, if you just have a Sunday night that you can pop in and help out, you know, you don't have to make a commitment for 12 months out of the year. But as I say, you know, they can always use an extra pair of hands, and they'll very willingly show you what needs to be done.
There's always 50 to 60 people there.
Absolutely.
Oh, yeah. And
Always.
what's a good thing too is, I would say probably the youngest person that helps is 65. So we always like to keep men, but there's 3 guys that always come, you know, Roger down in Village Market and Tom and then Paul. They always come and they always put down the chairs and the table, which is a big thing.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
You know, they're really great.
Yeah.
Because they really appreciate, you know, being able to come for something.
Maybe Foss could help out once in
But
a
it's a
while.
great group. We have a lot of fun.
Good.
Good.
Thank you,
Thank
Joan.
Okay.
Betty? Foss report?
Foss. Foss had a very successful weekend. We had a lovely yard sale at the KFC. Sandy knows how hard it was. There was a lot of work involved, but I have to give a lot of credit to Scituate seniors because they really came out and donated stuff. We had so much stuff. And I mean, it was really remarkable, the number of Scituate seniors that participated, cleaned out their garages and their houses, which was really nice. We're looking forward to participating with the Singing Trooper event on September 30th with the COA. Over the summer, we were able to have 2 meetings here at this building, and that was really helpful for us to know that there's a place, if we have an emergency board meeting or something, that we can call Linda and arrange to have a meeting here in the evening. So that was really wonderful. The Friends of Scituate Seniors is going to be soliciting for donations at the transfer station in the end of October.
Wow.
So look for us there, the 29th and the 30th of October. We have new officers. Sandy Duffy is our new president as of this week, and Sandy's here today. And that's about it for Foss. And we're up to about 300. We're up to about 320 members right now, and we're feeling pretty good about that.
Great. Very
That's
good.
it.
Thank you. I know we're running a little bit behind schedule, and we have a guest who fought through traffic to get here.
Not too bad.
Okay,
Not
good.
too bad.
Well, Bobby K. Davis from Social Elder Services, and we wanted to just, well, I'm going to hand it over to you, but we wanted to hear about and educate
You want to hear
here
about
and the
some-
community in terms of
Okay.
what Social Elder Services
Great.
does.
Well, you said a lot,
Right.
so, you know, I don't
Fill
have
in,
to say
you know.
anything hardly. But, yes, I'm Bobby K. Davis. I'm the Community Outreach Senior Supervisor at Social Elders. I hate that word senior, but I am. And it's my pleasure to be here. And, you know, I really want to let people know what Social Elder Services is, what we do, how we do it, and why we do it. And I have a personal reason for doing that. I'm just going to let you pass these around.
Sure.
This tells you all about our programs. You want to pass them out on this side too? And then this tells you basically the services.
Thank you.
I was fortunate enough to have my mother live to be 100 years old.
Wow.
And we lived in Quincy, and I didn't know about Social Elder Services. And I didn't even know we existed, but, you know, we're 39 years old, so we did. And I always felt very badly that at 90, I had to put my mother into a nursing home. And being an only child, that was very hard for me. So it became my mission to make, once I became employed by Social Elders and knew about them, to make sure that everyone had the opportunity to know we existed in order to keep your loved one out of the nursing home. So I take it very personally to be able to come and tell you about it. So basically, Social Elder Services, we're a nonprofit organization, as you know, and we're mandated, and we're also by the Department of Elder Affairs, and we are subsidized by both the state and federal government. Our main reason is to provide services to elders to keep them at home, out of a nursing home, as long as we can do so safely. So we have a number of programs and a number of services that we can provide for the elders in the community, because they were, very vibrant members of the community when they were younger, and some of them still are. We had a 107-year-old client who said to me, "Stop sending old people here to visit me. Send young people, and men particularly."
Preferably.
So, they're still vibrant. So we want to keep them home. They were the hairdressers, they were the school teachers, they were the crossing guards, they were the bank tellers, they were whatever. And they gave a lot. And I think it's important that we give back. So by giving them a little bit of an opportunity to stay home longer with dignity and support, that's what we want to do. So, I'm just going to don't want to bore you, but I want to let you know a little bit about the services we have. And I do have to have my cheat sheet because I'm getting a little older and I do forget things sometimes. As we said, we want to promote the elders to stay home as long as possible, as long as they can do so safely. So when you call Social Elder Services, the first department that you will engage in is our information and referral department. And if you want to refer someone for services, or you want to refer yourself for services, or you just want information, they are able to give you that information. I'll give you an example. I always like to tell stories. It's more interesting. I had a gentleman call me about a month and a half ago, and he said, "Bobby Kay, I had my father recently passed away, and my mother is home alone. She doesn't drive anymore, and she's very depressed." He said, she's pretty self-sufficient, but she doesn't need the services, but she's very depressed. And this is going to sound very trite, but she really is upset she can't get out to the hairdresser. And I can't take her. He was an attorney, and he said, "I'm very busy, and I just really can't take her." I said, "No problem." I sent him a list of hairdressers that come to the house. So we have a list of doctors that will go to the house, podiatrists that will go to the house, and we will give that to anyone who calls, and that's just a little bit of the information. So we try to keep on top of what's available in the community, because we believe that we work with the Council on Aging to help the elders and any other organizations that are around. So anyhow, he called me a week later. He said, "You have no idea how much my mother appreciated that." So it's just an example that, you don't have to call to refer someone to be a client, but, we'll give you the information we have, and there's no wrong door. If we don't have it, we'll find a place that does. So, and that's important. The second thing I want to talk about is the home care department, which is close to my heart. Having started there and grown in that department, we provide the services, and you'll see on your second sheet of paper all the services that we provide through the home care department. But I'm just going to divert your attention a little bit to the blue sheet, which indicates the criteria for being a client. Some people call and they'll say, "Oh, I was told it's free, and I can just, come." No, there's 3 criteria. I always say you have to be age appropriate, so you have to be 60 or over, younger, disabled, or a younger person with a diagnosis of Alzheimer's or dementia. To be assessed for our program. And most of them say, "Oh, honey, I'm 95 years old. I'm over 60. But, it's fine. But you do have to be it's an age requirement. I'm flipping my papers here. The second is need. We don't provide services to individuals who just want their windows cleaned. Or, we did get a call from a lady who said, "It's spring, and I just need somebody to change my clothes from summer, from winter to summer." So no, we don't. You do have, and this indicates what you have to have a critical unmet need. So you have to need help with shopping, bathing, if respite for your caregiver who is getting stressed out and so forth. So you do have to have a critical unmet need, and that's that second section. And we talk about ADLs and IADLs, and people say, well, what are they talking about? They are activities of daily living and independent activities of daily living. So you have to have 3 of the activities of daily living or a combination. And then it's financial. That's not the fun part. There is a co-payment involved unless you're on Mass Health. And the co-payment is based on your income. So the higher your income, and I will ask you to look at the green sheet, which is the sliding scale, which is dictated by Elder Affairs, the state of Massachusetts. So the higher your income, the higher your copay. The lower your income, the lower your copay. And when we say your income, we're talking just about your income. We don't ask how much you have in the bank. We don't ask about CDs or investments. We don't ask to see your tax returns. We take your word for it. Whatever you say your monthly income is, that's what we base your copay on. So it doesn't count your house. It doesn't count any cars. It doesn't count anything else. But basically your monthly income, which would include your Social Security, a pension if you have it, and that's just about it.
Yep.
So anyhow, and again, we take your word for it. And then of course, if there's an occasion where someone feels the copay is beyond the reality for them, and we feel they need the services, we'll always do a copay adjust. So we try to, everyone is individual. Every situation is individual, and we take it that way. So there's always exceptions to the rule. We just want to make sure people are home safely.
So can I ask a question?
Sure.
about the income? So if somebody is interested in services and they don't have Mass Health, and they just,
Which is the majority of our clients.
and they just, you don't ask for their like monthly.
Yes, it's based on their monthly income. We'll ask them what
But you
their...
ask them for proof.
No.
You just-
No, we take what's your pension, and they tell us, and what's your Social Security, and they tell us, and that's what we put down. No, we don't ask to see any verification.
Do you go in if there's anybody else in there, like the VNA or hospice or anything else like that? Can they use you too?
Very often, they'll ask us to come in and help them. Because they're providing the skilled service through the doctor, so they might need us to go in and help with shopping and housework, things like that. A lot of times, once the VNA discharge a client, they'll call us and say they still need help with their bathing, so we're going to need you to come in. So we work in conjunction with them.
What's the wait period?
There's no wait period, and I wanted to touch on that too. We do have a waiting list, and the waiting list, we prioritize referrals by need. So the priority 4s are on the waiting list, and priority 4s are elders who need help with meal prep only. So it's really good because we don't have that, as you just said, we have 3 people on the waiting list, and it started the beginning of the month. So if you just need help with meal prep, it's easy for us, we can refer you right to Meals on Wheels. So consequently, your needs are going to be met.
Yep.
And then once the wait list is alleviated, then, if you want somebody to go in and help you with meal prep as well, or instead of, we can do that. When it gets into other priority levels, it's going to be more difficult. For instance, priority 3s are people who need help with shopping, with housework, with companion, and things like that, which is the majority of our referrals. It hasn't touched them yet. Or our priority 2s, which are people who need help with bathing and dressing and med management. Those people are not being touched right now. Or our priority 1s, and those are individuals who have no informal supports at all. They have not a soul in the world. They would be the last people that would be on a wait list. So technically, yes, we're on a wait list, but it's for a very minimal amount of referrals that we get.
But don't you Don't you refer these out to other companies?
The,
Your homemaking?
oh, yes, we
all of
deal with
that, so
40
that's what I'm-
providers,
Correct.
yes.
So
And
they're the people who have possibly the wait list. to
No,
get
no,
the
it's
services
us.
up.
I get it.
we're on the wait list to provide the services, because the state is trying to balance their budget. Don't forget, the state pays for these services.
Right.
So they're trying to minimize the amount of clients that they have to pay for. But they're starting with the lowest of need. You know what I'm saying? They just need meal prep.
It's the least amount of money.
Right, of course. But we can refer them to Meals on Wheels. So they're really paying for it anyway, but that's okay.
What do you mean by meal prep? Someone
Meal
come in
prep,
and
people
help
like,
them cook?
help them cook,
Dinners
yes,
and-
make dinners for them, and cook, their favorite foods or whatever, right in their home. Yep.
Okay.
And it's usually the homemaker, but it's designated the homemaker for meal prep. You know, the homemaker can do cleaning, shopping, laundry, all kinds of things. But if they primarily just want people for meal prep, then that would be the ones that would be on the wait list. And that's why we advocate to, if you think you want services, don't pay attention to the wait list, make the referral anyway. Because in talking to them, and our case managers are trained to, when a referral comes in, to talk to the individual and say, well, it says here that you want help with meal prep, but is there anything else you think you might need? And then you get, oh yeah, I need help with shopping too. Well, then automatically, they're not a 4 anymore.
Right.
So it's communication is so important, because you find out all different things, and they might not be a priority for it all.
I'm looking at the cost-sharing schedule.
Mhm.
Now, if it's somebody that's a priority for and they need a little help with food prep, is their co-payment just goes here too? Do they fit into this?
Yes, but right now we
So if all
can't.
they need is food prep, but they happen to have an income of 30,000, they're gonna pay 110 a month for that.
Well, that would be an awful lot of meal prep. We never have them pay for more services than they receive. So in other words, if their copay would be $130 a month, and we have a homemaker in there, let's say, twice a week to give them meal prep, the cost of their services is basically only going to be like $100 and something a month. So they would never pay for more than the services they receive. What happens is the state takes your copay out first in paying the providers, and then the state pays for the rest. So if you only utilize, for instance, a lot of people just have personal emergency response systems. So that cost is $20. So
Say that again? What's
the
that?
the PERS, the thing I've fallen and I can't get up,
Yeah.
that, around the neck. A lot of people, we can't open someone just for that, but if we have somebody open as a client and then for some reason they discontinue their other services and they just want to keep their personal emergency response system, they can. Once you become a client, you're a client. And if that's the only service they receive, and let's say their copay is $150 a month, the cost to them is only $20 a month because that's all they're receiving. We would never charge someone for more than they receive. And that's why our bills are 2 months behind, and people don't understand that, because we can't bill someone for something unless we verify they received the service. So
Okay, so
that's the reason.
I want to let Bobby K continue. So-
Okay, fine.
Yeah.
Okay, so any other questions on that? Okay. So I just wanted to go into some of the other programs, and let's see where we are now. All right, we have our home care program. Now, this is not to confuse you even more. We have a little twist on the home care program that was established a couple of years ago, and it's called, so we deal with providers. We have 40 providers. We're like the middleman. So we see what you need, we call the providers, we authorize them to deliver the services, and then we monitor it all the time to make sure you're getting the services you receive that you're entitled to. Or if your situation changes and your health changes, you get either better or you get worse, then we'll have to tweak the program. So maybe give you bathing that you didn't need before. Or maybe we have clients that come in after they've had a hip replacement, and they need help with bathing and shopping and housework and laundry. then they get a little better. So they don't need the help with bathing anymore. Now they feel more confident. We certainly want people to, if they're enabled to do something and they feel like they want to do it, we want to give them the autonomy to do that. So then they just might need shopping and a little housework. So we'll keep those services. And so we're always tweaking with the providers. And we visit the clients. Every case manager has about 100 or so clients, and they are mandated to visit them at least twice a year. Or if needed, if they need them, if they just come out of the hospital, whatever. And then call them in the other months to call and check on them. But a lot of people, we have a lot of people that speak different languages. We have a lot of people that have anxiety, whether it's agoraphobia or agoraphobia or the depression or whatever. And, they don't feel comfortable letting someone they don't know come in their house. So we have now consumer-directed care program, and that is the consumer is the employer, and they hire their family member as their worker. So if somebody's family member is doing all the work and doesn't have a job, then it enables them to get paid. So it's not a lot. It's just gone up to $14.12 an hour. But, it's better than doing it and not getting paid at all. So the elder or his surrogate or her surrogate, if she doesn't have capacity, can hire the daughter or the friend or someone they're used to do the services for them. And then we have a fiscal intermediary, the cerebral palsy, that takes the timesheets and issues the checks. The only problem is it's a lot of paperwork because they have to establish a business. They have to have a tax number. They have to have a Corey check. Yes, the family. So they have to do all that. I mean, we help them. We do all the paperwork. But it's very involved at first. But once it's up and running, it works beautifully. They have their daughter doing it. She's getting a little bit of pay. And they're comfortable with her. So it works really well. So they're in charge. And then, to even make it more confusing, I call it the first cousin. The first cousin of the CDC program, Consumer Directed Care, is the VIP program. And that's Veterans Independence Plus. And it's a little bit different, but it's similar to the CDC. That's why I call it the first cousin. Is that, again, you hire, you train, and your own workers, but you're eligible for that program. It comes through the Veterans Administration and their doctor.
Right.
So you have to have a doctor at the VA hospital, and they will recommend you for the VIP program. Then we get a call from Eric Bryan, who happens to be the person from the VA. This person we're recommending for the VIP program. And you can, there you're allotted an amount of money. It's not so many hours. The veterans give a certain amount of money to the elder, and or the veteran, I should say, or both. And they can utilize their money to save it and buy things, like maybe they want to put a ramp on their house that the veterans won't do or can't do, or they want to save and get some equipment, a hospital bed that they feel they might need. So they can use the money for either to pay someone to do their services or for a particular item that they're saving for. So it's a little bit different, but it works on the same concept. So, we try to, the state, I have to say, the state does try to, kind of make it as friendly to the elders as possible for them to get their needs met.
Can I ask a question?
Of course.
Do the veterans have to be 100% service connected, or does it just a veteran?
It's just a veteran, but we don't make any of those specifications. It comes right from the VA hospital.
It's not a disability compensation from the Veterans Administration.
It's a benefit.
It's a benefit.
It's a benefit.
Okay.
So their disability is not whether they're 10% or 20% or 30% disabled and therefore receiving compensation. They have to be basically nursing home eligible health-wise. And the VA may provide some financial assistance to keep them at home that they're able to then use for themselves.
Good. And basically, you know, it's, yeah, and it's a great, I mean, we have a couple of veterans that, my father was in the Navy for 50 years, so I'm very, very partial to the veterans. And, you know, that, you know, it's just so wonderful for them. And in the VIP program, the spouse can be the worker. So she gets paid for helping her husband. You know, it's great. So it's a great program. So we talked a little bit about the nutrition Meals on Wheels. We talked about that, and you talked about that. And, but there's another benefit to the Meals on Wheels other than people getting nutritious food. And we now have a cardiac meal for people who have CHF, and it's no salt. So that's just got initiated as part of our program. You do have to have a doctor okay it and say that you would qualify for it, but it's pretty simple just to get that form from the doctor. But another benefit of the Meals on Wheels, sometimes for our elders, the Meals on Wheels delivery person is the only person they see.
Correct.
Week in, week out, day in, day out. And in our organization, or our agency, when someone doesn't answer for the meals, they call the agency, and we have what we call a case manager on duty every afternoon. And they get a list of all the Meals on Wheels clients that didn't answer for their meal or didn't put a cooler out. Oftentimes they'll put a cooler out if they're going to go to the doctor or something. So we'll know that they're not there, but we know they have a reason. But anyway, we call the client, the consumer, we call their emergency contacts, we call their doctor's office, and then we have a wellness check done by the police. So every one of those individuals that don't answer for their meal is checked on. And it's a great check on people to make sure they're okay.
Yeah.
So there's another reason besides getting a nutritious meal. Pardon me? And we have the parade, and we have and we have the renal meals as well. So, yeah, we're getting there. Okay, and we do have what we call our stormtroopers, and they go out no matter what weather, and a lot of our staff are the ones that do it. They go in pairs. One drives whoever has the SUV, and the other one delivers the meals. So, you know, we go out no matter what the weather. We also deliver Christmas meals on Christmas Day and Thanksgiving meals on Thanksgiving Day. So it's every day of the
And does that have to be an existing client that gets the Christmas and Thanksgiving? Just
No, as
wondering
long
if-
as they're a Meals
did
on
they
Wheels
call?
client.
That's
No,
what I mean,
yeah. Mhm.
They should-
But you don't have to be a client to to get the Meals on Wheels. Any elder is entitled to the Meals on Wheels. Okay, and and then we have our Family Caregiver Support Program, and that is, you know, a lot of the caregivers, you know, under stress, they're taking care of their loved one, and they neglect their own health. So we have a caregiver support person. One of our case managers says, you know, this is a couple, and I really think the caregiver is really under stress. We will call them, we will talk to them, and we will try to support them and see what we can do to help them out. And there's two caregiver support groups that meet, and one's in Scituate, one's at the St. Mary's Hall, and I believe that one we have the third Wednesday of the month at 12 o'clock. And we also have one at the Braintree Council on Aging, and that's on Tuesdays at 5 o'clock, every third Tuesday at 5
The one in
o'clock.
Scituate is a Council on Aging Senior Center support group, and it's run by Laura Menier, the Social Services Manager, as well as a representative from the Social Elder Services.
So it's
They
something-
pair
a
together,
lot of
but
things we
we
do
just
with
don't
it.
have the room here to put them, so otherwise it would be here.
That would be great, but it does exist, and it's very good for people in
It's
the
a
area
nice
to
thing.
go to, and see other people that are going through the same things. We all need support now and again. We have a protective service department, and those workers strive to protect the safety, integrity, and dignity of all elders in the community, and certainly if they take any call, which it's kept confidential. If somebody calls to report any kind of abuse, whether it be sexual abuse, physical abuse, emotional abuse, financial exploitation, keeping medications from an elder, that we screen them, they go out, and they advocate for the client. So it's it's great to have it right in our agency, the Protective Service Department, because sometimes the case managers will say, you know, I just had this funny feeling when I went to visit this client. I don't know, it was just between whatever. And we can just run it by one of the Protective Service workers and, follow up on it. So it's great. But we'll take any call, and we take every call extremely seriously. We have the Money Management Department, and you talked about that a little bit, our many managers. And one other thing that I just wanted to mention on that, they do help people keep their checkbooks, make sure, but the client always maintains control of their money. They just help them organize their bills and pay their bills. And this is not only great for people who have fallen behind in their payments, but, if you've got a spouse, and the spouse that always paid the bills died, now you've got the spouse that's left. So now not only are they suffering from the loss of their spouse, they have no idea what to do. So it's a perfect situation to have the money manager go in.
Yeah.
You've got somebody who has Parkinson's disease, has arthritis that has deteriorated their ability to write. They'll go in and write the checks for them. So it's very beneficial in all different kinds of ways. We have our long-term ombudsman program, and those are volunteers, another volunteer program, where our volunteers go into the nursing homes and rest homes, and they will advocate for the clients and their families to make sure the residents are treated fairly and with dignity. So we try to keep our clients out of the nursing homes, but in the case where there's no alternative and they have to go in, we follow up with them while they're in there as well. So to make sure, again. And then our nurses go into different nursing homes every week, actually, and they talk to the residents, and they'll say to them, now, do you feel you might want to go home? And they will try to advocate, if they feel that they can do so safely, for them to get to go home and back into the community. We have our clinical eligibility and assessment department, and a lot of people don't realize we have a whole department of registered nurses, and they do go out and they assess our clients for help with bathing, whether they need a personal care attendant or home health aide. If they need more than 50% assistance, then they determine they need a home health aide. If they need just somebody to kind of cue them or kind of like be there for them, then it would be a personal care attendant. And they also determine elders' clinical eligibility, I'll get it out, for a nursing home or for Mass Health or for the waiver program. And the waiver program is a program where individuals who are found by the nurses to be clinically eligible to go to a nursing home can waive that to stay in the community. And we can provide them with extra services to help them do that. We have our Asian Outreach Program, and Frank Poon, I don't know if any of you know Frank Poon, but I call him the mayor of Quincy a little bit, along with Tommy Koch, who I had in school. But anyway, he is quite an advocate, for the Asian community. And not only does he help elders who might need help, but he also helps them fill out forms and, all kinds of things. We have the personal care attendant, and that's the PCA program, and that's for people on Mass Health. And it's similar to the CDC program, but it's run by Old Colony Elder Services, and we do it in conjunction with them, again, to pay for, they have a worker that they're familiar with to do the services. And the only advantage of the PCA program, again, for Mass Health clients, is that the worker can work overnight, so they can have all-night service, and they also can help dispense medication, give them their medications, where other programs they're not able to do that. Options counseling, and it's just what it says. If you have an elder in the community that is coming out of a rehab or a nursing home, and they don't know what to do or how to get back into the community, we have our options counselor that will go out and explain all the options that are available to them in the community, and help them. And they stay with them for 30 days just to make sure that they've been able to go ahead and investigate and absorb all the different options in the community. We have a congregate supportive housing. We have 2 houses. We have a 17-unit house in Braintree and a 6-unit house in Hingham. And it's for elders who, really need some place to stay. And they have community kitchen, and usually we have one of our providers go in and cook the meal at night for them, one of our contracted providers. And they each have a bedroom and a little bathroom area. And they have to go through either the Hingham or the Braintree Housing Authority. And in Hingham, it's just the Housing Authority, but I believe in Braintree they have to, the nurse from the Department of Public Health has to, assess them as well.
And it's a temporary living situation?
Nope, it's permanent. Mhm.
So then is there a waiting list for people?
Oh, yes, yeah. And we also have a housing coordinator who will help people who are looking for subsidized housing, and he will help them. He can't get them on top of the list, I wish he could, but he helps them navigate the system and finds the what forms to fill out and so forth. We have our CSM program, and those are the case managers that work for people who are, for folks, I should say, that have been as I said, clinically eligible to be in a nursing home. And they help provide all kinds of services for them, because it's less for the state to pay for extra services at home than the cost of a nursing home. So consequently, once you're found clinically eligible by one of our nurses and financially eligible, because you can only have $2,000 in the bank for the Medicaid program. Yeah, for Mass Health. And you have to be a member of Mass Health for this program. But it's great for, we had somebody that, oh my goodness, we gave her so many services, and it helped her really survive in the community. It's very rewarding. As one of our case managers said, she said, we can't help everybody, but we can help them stay out of a nursing home and be around their loved ones for as long as possible. And it's a lot of work, but even for a few days, it's rewarding. Mm-hmm. So, you just keep them at home. And lastly is the Senior Care Options Program. We call it SCO. That's another Mass Health program, but it's all-inclusive. So it's run by the different health care providers. There's a Tufts, there's a United Health, there's a Tufts SCO, and they're all run by the providers, but it's all inclusive. So you have to go to the doctor that's a member of that SCO. You have to go to any specialists that are a member of the SCO. You have to have services through but they use the same providers we do through the SCO. So it's an all-inclusive program. And when it first started a few years ago, people didn't want to sign up because people like to keep their own doctor. Mm-hmm. But now so many doctors are joining the SCOs that, we're having a lot of leeway in people joining that program.
So that's an insurance program, yeah?
It is.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
It's Mass Health.
Okay.
It's Mass Health, yes. So anyway, we try to, provide as much help as we can to keep people at home. I'll just mention one little example. We had a gentleman that was walking 8 miles a day to get his chemotherapy and his dialysis.
Oh my
Not
God.
from Scituate, I hope.
No, he wasn't from Scituate. And he came in as a referral, and one of the case managers said, I just couldn't even sleep at night after I met him. So he was walking 8 miles a day to go into Boston to get his treatments, and he was coming back. He had very little food in the house. His he and his wife and his daughter and her child were living with them. So we, of course, provided him with transportation to the T, and then we had the cab pick him up when he came home. We provided food for them at home. We provided clothes for them, and really enhanced. I mean, this is why we do what we do. You know, really enhanced his life. And we had one gentleman in this, I'll end with this, last year, who we got a call from the Braintree Police saying that this elder, who really didn't live too far from the agency, but anyway, this elder had no electricity, no light, and was a veteran. So of course I said, what? So what happened was he had such little income that he was keeping his heat way down. And so when the police broke in, because they heard that, you know, he was in there with no electricity and no heat, they were like appalled. He was a hoarder, the whole house. I mean, I saw it. It was, you know. And what he was doing, he was in a wheelchair, and his toilet wasn't working. And what he did is rigged up this rope. It was quite ingenious, actually. He rigged it up so that if he pulled on it, it pulled the lever up so it would flush, because his toilet wasn't working. I mean, it was just deplorable, and it was absolutely so sad, and he had no one to help him. So, and you couldn't even hardly get in the house because the brush outside his house was so overgrown, you know, it was very hard to get in. So again, we went in there and we got a carpenter in there, we had somebody, a plumber in there, we had somebody do his lawn, you know, and he was so grateful. And we hooked him up, of course, with the veterans, so he got a lot of services.
Can I just ask you, after all these services, if a person still can't stay home, do you help them get into a nursing home? Because I mean, say they've fallen 10 times and, you know, broken a hip and still want to go home. Believe me, I've seen them all.
Well, we advocate for them not to go home in that situation. A lot of times our clients, when they've been in the hospital, they will invite us to come to the discharge planning meeting. And, you know, we will indicate at that time that and our nurse and staff will step in as well and indicate that even though he wants to or she wants to go home, we just don't think it would be safe at home. Sometimes they're what we call beyond the scope. You know, it's just, but we have lists of nursing homes that people can go and see. We can't really ethically suggest a particular nursing home, but, you know, we can help them with making a choice.
Bobby K, this is great.
CSSME.
That's, those are the, you would ask me that. Those are the case managers for the special services of the waiver program.
Case manager, what?
For the waiver program, for the most frail.
Okay, thank you.
You, of course, get a lot of referrals. I mean, I could call Social Elder
Anytime,
Services, our
yes.
social worker does, anyone who has fear for a neighbor, anybody could
Absolutely.
call. So is your
Oh,
role
let me
to
give
try
you the
to-
hotline too.
Oh,
for
to try to
the
find the right services, do you, and if, I mean, I could call you
You could call me,
instead of-
but you
if I
should-
didn't know if it was
you can call me
protective
'cause
services or.
anytime, yes. But, and I'm going to leave a few of my cards here. But also, if you call the information referral, what they do is I actually get every referral that comes in, and then I will
okay.
designate it to the different case managers that are in charge of that particular area.
So by calling information and referral, we're
Yeah,
calling you
but you
because
can
we're
call
from
me
Situate, but it's
you
okay.
can call me.
I know.
I'll
But really,
leave these-
that's the important thing, is to pick up the phone and call and say, this is what we've got going on.
Yeah.
You know, can Social Elder Services
And we'll,
help?
and if we, as I said, if
Yeah.
we can't, we certainly will refer you to someone who can.
Yeah,
Oh,
yeah,
I know.
yeah.
We're all under the same theory of keeping elders home
Yep,
safely.
yep.
And, you know,
And you know
I-
this community and what our
oh,
resources are.
yes,
here,
absolutely. And I
so-
learned more tonight, so that's very good for me, too. I learned something as well.
Do you live here?
No, I live in Weymouth.
You do.
I used to live in
Sorry to
Quincy.
bring you all the way here.
Okay.
Oh, it's fine.
I don't know why I thought you did live here. Just.
No.
Um,
Does anybody have any other questions, or?
No, this
Yeah.
Good, I hope it was helpful.
No, very, absolutely, that's. why we
Sometimes I have
wanted-
to say, Bob, okay, stop talking.
There's
Comprehensive.
There's a huge.
It's a lot.
There's a huge umbrella of services
Right.
that are offered, and people need to know to just pick up the phone and inquire.
Absolutely. And I happen to be chairman of our visibility committee, which means to make us visible throughout the communities. And one of our missions is to work in conjunction with the Council of Agings in the area so that we can better service our consumers. So this is perfect, and my mission this year is to go to every council on aging.
Oh.
Very good.
So,
Well, we appreciate you coming down here and the information.
oh, you're very welcome.
Very
It was
much.
my pleasure.
Maybe you'd like to come, but maybe you'd like to come on the 19th when we have that, the legislative.
I would like to do that. What day is it? Not that
It's a
it matters.
Wednesday, October 19th.
Okay, let me
If I
put it
give you the
down.
newsletter, this one's,
I worked for Mass Health for 12 years. and
You
I-
did?
Yeah, but I can't tell you the numbers of times we referred people to you, to your agency, not you, Bobby K.
Well, I'll take
But-
care of it.
No, no. Innumerable times, you know, at the time, whatever the coverages were, they changed from budget to budget.
Oh,
and,
right.
You know, we referred countless people, and we had the number and et cetera, and assured them that they would be in good hands because, you know,
Thank you.
Mass Health couldn't assist them with, you know,
Right.
what they needed, so.
You know, well, good, I hope we helped.
Well, that was
Thank
way
you.
back, I'm retired now.
thank you so much for
But,
coming.
oh, but before I leave, I would be remiss if I didn't give you the hotline number.
Okay.
Certainly, if you feel, and that's 24 hours a day. It's 1-800-922-2275.
Very good.
Thank you.
Thank you
Okay,
again.
thank you for having me, I
again.
appreciate
Now
it.
that I'm a senior, I might need this one for me.
I am myself, so don't
Haven't
tell
adjourned
anyone.
yet, so-
We haven't adjourned yet? Does
Thank you very
anybody have
much.
any
Oh,
thank you so
business
much.
that we might put on next month's agenda?
I do.
Okay, what would that be?
Well, this was actually suggested to me by someone else, but,
Better in the daytime.
the elections are coming up in November, and providing transportation to the polls. If, I'm just saying, we need to talk about it.
Okay.
But if we can provide van coverage and perhaps coordinate with FOSS for private rides, somehow help the seniors get to the polls.
Get to the polls?
And that would come under,
You're gonna
Yep.
take them to go do the absentee vote up there.
Yeah.
right, and that's another option too.
Right,
Yeah,
the
okay.
information about that, yeah.
Okay. Anybody else have anything?
Provide them.
I mean, we'll try to put this on next month's agenda.
Right, because then that will give us time.
Anybody else got anything? Okay.
I make a motion the meeting be adjourned.
Oh, please.
Meeting adjourned.
I second it.
Adjourned.
Very good. Thanks, everybody.
7:20.
Thank you.